Yunus. On behalf of Entrepreneurship Development Cell of DJ Academy for Managerial Excellence, I extend my warm welcome to everyone for joining the special talk on social entrepreneurship by Mrs. Suman John, CEO and MD, Diya Innovations Private Limited, Bangalore. DJ Academy for Managerial Excellence was established in the year 2001 by late Sri Jayavardhan, past chairman of Lakshmi Mission Works, popularly known as LMW. The institute offers 2-year full-time MBA program affiliated to Board of Diya University, Coimbatore. It is also a recognized center to pursue PhD programs of Board of Diya University. LMW is a leading textile machinery manufacturer in India and one among the 3 in the world to produce the entire range of spinning machinery. LMW diversified its business into CNC machine tool. They are the brand leaders in manufacturing customized products. LMW Foundry makes precision castings for industries world over. LMW has added the Advanced Technology Center to manufacture components for aerospace industry. From the industry perspective, DJ Academy for Managerial Excellence is the only B school in this region to work in tandem with industry through its association with LMW Coimbatore. LMW and companies have business association with LMW, extend their support to the students of DJ Academy for Managerial Excellence and help them gain experiential learning, which goes a long way in molding the students and making them industry ready. In the academic front, DJ Academy for Managerial Excellence Connect Series is an industry institute interaction initiative to connect the students with corporate leader. We have been conducting the programs every week where the experts from industry and academia are sharing their experience to the students. The COVID pandemic has forced the academic community to explore new ways for teaching, learning, and interacting with the student community. Even in these unprecedented times, under the visionary leadership of our director, Dr. A.G.V. Narayanan, the industry institution interaction, the Connect series has become a mainstay at DJ Academy for Managerial Excellence since January 2020. We have conducted 54 such deliberations in 365 days, that means once in a week. Our commitment to the student community encouraged us to explore new ways to enrich students on what's happening in the corporate world. We don't restrict access to our Connect series only to students of DJ Academy for Managerial Excellence, but made it open to the public. We also make all the videos available in our YouTube channel for those who miss the Connect programs. Maybe later, you can all visit our YouTube channel to know more about our Connect series, and please subscribe our channel. Recently, our institute, LMW and University of Malaysia, Penang, represented by Faculty of Industrial Management, have signed a letter of intent to collaborate in academics, research and development and industry partnership. With this brief note, it gives immense pleasure to welcome our resource person for today's program, Mrs. Suman John, CEO and MD, Diya Innovations Private Limited, Bangalore, who is going to give a special talk on social entrepreneurship. Social entrepreneurship is all about recognizing the social problems and achieving a social change by employing entrepreneurial principles, process, and operation. It's all about making a research to completely define a particular social problem and then organizing, creating, and managing a social venture to attain the desired change. The change may or may not include a thorough elimination of a social problem. It may be a lifetime process focusing on the improvement of existing circumstances. Social entrepreneurs may seek to produce environmentally friendly product, serve an underserved community, or focus on philanthropic activities. So Diya Innovations is the perfect example of social entrepreneurship. Diya Innovations, a gifting company where artisans creating the range of gifts include artisans with disability. Diya Innovations employ the differently abled and make a variety of corporate and individual gifting alternatives, chocolates, candles, a line of household linen, decorative lighting option, interesting craft from recycled paper, bottles, etc. Diya trains the employees, the differently abled persons. At Diya Foundation, training is provided in data entry, chocolate making, candle making, screen printing, making craft from paper and recyclable products like newspaper, bottles, bobbins, etc. We welcome you, madam. It is my pleasure to welcome Mrs. Ranjana Singhal, President of TiE Coimbatore. We welcome you, madam. I am happy to welcome the office bearers and executive members of TiE Coimbatore. We welcome you all. I am happy to welcome our Captain K. Sandil Kumar, retired Chief Executive GKD Trust. Welcome you, sir. I would like to welcome our beloved director, Dr. A.G.V. Narayanan. Welcome you, sir. I also welcome all the faculty members and students from academia and participants from corporate sector. Finally, I welcome our faculty members and students of DJ Academy for Managerial Excellence. Welcome you all, and let us wait for an informative session from Mrs. Suman John. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for that wonderful welcome address. Now let me call upon Sandhya, our first MBA student, to introduce the speaker.
Good morning to everyone present here. Suman John has been working in the area of disability since 2001. She was a trustee on the board of Diya Foundation, an organization devoted to providing career-centered education to men and women with intellectual challenges. From 2001 to 2013, she left the board to start a social enterprise called Diya Innovations, a gifting company where artisans creating the range of gifts include artisans with disabilities, that is mental retardation, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and autism, graduating them from the foundation. The primary focus of the company is to create livelihoods for this community and ensure their acceptance and inclusion in society. Prior to working in the social sector, she worked for 8 years as a market researcher with Gallup India and Market Pro. She has an MBA from Bharathasan Institute of Management, Trichy, a diploma on special education autism from Spastic Society of Karnataka, and has completed the executive program in social entrepreneurship from the University of Pennsylvania Center for Social Impact Strategy. She also served as a teaching fellow for the 2020 cohort. In recognition for her contribution in the field of social entrepreneurship, she was recently awarded the Delhi Management Association All India Women Entrepreneurs Awards 2021 in the social entrepreneur category. Now I welcome Ms. Suman John ma'am to take over the session.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sandhya. Let me just share my screen now. Yeah.
Yes,
are you able to see my screen?
Yeah, perfect, ma'am. You can go on a PPT mode.
Okay.
Perfect, ma'am.
All right. Thank you. So let me start by thanking the director, Dr. A.G.V. Narayanan, for inviting me to give you this talk. Today, I feel really honored to be speaking to all of you, students of management, and I hope that at least a little bit of what I share with you today will impact your choices as your life unfolds. I'll speak to you for about 30 to 35 minutes, and then I'll take some questions and try and answer them to the best of my ability. Today, I'm going to share some of my experiences and some of what I've learned and observed, and try and make a case to get you interested in giving this kind of entrepreneurship a thought. Okay, and let's hope I'm successful. So while working with Gallup in the late 90s, I had a few opportunities to work on some social research projects. One was for SEWA, which is the Self-Employed Women's Association, and the other was for CRY. I have no memory now of what the research objectives were or what the findings were, but certain encounters from those two projects left a lasting impact on me. So SEWA is the Self-Employed Women's Association. It's based out of Ahmedabad in Gujarat. It is a trade union that promotes the rights of low-income, independently employed women workers. Today, the union has 1.6 million women, and SEWA is the largest organization of informal workers in the world. SEWA ensures certain securities for the woman and her family: income, food, healthcare, childcare, and shelter. Now, when I visited Ahmedabad in 1995, they had less than 30,000 members. Remember, it's a trade union, and today they have 1.6 million. In 95, they had about 30,000 members. It was my first visit to Ahmedabad, a city that very quickly grew on me. And I was put up by Seva in a member's house. She worked in the Seva Bank. She was a wonderful host. And I'm fond of Gujarati food. And so staying in her home was an absolute delight. I'd get beautiful, wonderful Gujarati food for breakfast and dinner. And she would also pack me yummy teplas and pickle for me to carry when I did my field work. So I interviewed women who were embroiderers, tailors, street cart vendors, small shop owners, and I visited their homes. I spent time with them, talking to them about their families. There was no poverty in sight. They were proud of their savings and their ability to educate their children. The independence and self-reliance was apparent. And this was a group of happy, strong, and proud women who had control over their lives. Now, I hadn't seen anything like this before, and at this scale or this level of success anywhere else. And Seva had made this possible for them. My other encounter was on the platform of the Bangalore City railway station. I don't know if many of you must have seen visited the Bangalore City railway station if you've come to Bangalore. I was conducting a focus group discussion here on the platform with street children. Now, if you go to one of the quiet platforms where there's a parked train or no train at all, you'll find groups of youngsters between the ages of 5 and 17 hanging out at the on the platform, smoking BDs, some of them even inhaling cartridge ink. We sat down on the platform and we had a focus group discussion there. And all of them had run away from home. They'd run away from home because of abuse, neglect, or a misdemeanor that had forced them to leave home. They lived on the streets. They faced abuse here. They were hungry, but they kind of enjoyed their independence and their freedom. There were frightening days when they'd get beaten up by cops or by a gang member. And there were times that they didn't have anything to eat, but they had a place to go to. And that place was Bosco Mane. So Bosco Mane is a rehabilitation center for children on the street here in Bangalore. It's an NGO for street children. And their doors are always open and they lovingly wipe the tear, clean the wounded heart or the wounded knee of kids who came by when they needed that kind of care. Bosco Mane was these children's second home. It was a halfway home and they were welcome there whenever they needed anything. So what's the difference between these two examples that I just shared with you? Bosco Mane is the more traditional NGO that all of us are familiar with, where they're able to do the good work that they do because of the funding that they're able to attract. Seva, on the other hand, is a social enterprise ensuring sustainable impact without really depending on any donations. Now, before I get into defining social innovation and social entrepreneurship, I want to share the story of one more company, and that is the company called TOMS. So TOMS is a for-profit. It's based out of Los Angeles, California. It was founded in 2006 by Blake McCoskey. The reason why I'm saying this is all the examples that I give to you today, I really want you to go back and read up more about them. Now, he developed a slip-on canvas shoe like the one that you see in the picture, and he sold it in the North American market with the goal of providing a new pair of free shoes to the youth of Argentina and other developing countries in South America. So for every pair he sold in the North American market, he donated a pair of shoes in the South American market. The shoes were made in Argentina. So when he initially set up, he even set up the shoe making factory in Argentina where his beneficiaries would be. And he had more beneficiaries because he was creating jobs by setting up his factory there. In the first year itself, they sold 10,000 pairs of shoes, and he was able to donate 10,000 pairs of shoes to children who needed them. So this started in 2006. By 2011, he launched a line of eyewear that funded free eye surgeries to beneficiaries who couldn't pay for them. By 2014, he diversified into coffee roasting, that funded safe drinking water in the communities from where he was sourcing his coffee, in the coffee producing regions where he sourced his coffee beans from. He further diversified into bags and contributed to maternal health from the sale of the bags. In 2014, Bain Capital acquired 50% of Tom's. And at this point, the company was valued at $625 million. So when we speak about social entrepreneurship, we're talking about a profit angle too. That's what I wanted to bring in here. So this is a third kind of business model that's worth understanding, a completely for-profit with a huge impact component. So what I want you to take away from this is these three examples is that, every problem needs a novel solution. There is no cookie cutter solution to what the problem is and where one size fits all. So we have to understand the problem, and there are so many different approaches to it. And as we go along, you'll understand what I mean. So let's now get into understanding what social entrepreneurship was, what social innovation is first. Okay, so social innovation, this is by Pills and Miller. We contend that social innovation is the best construct for understanding and producing lasting change. We redefine social innovation to mean a novel solution to a social problem that is more effective, more efficient, sustainable, or just than existing solutions, and for which the value created accrues primarily to society as a whole rather than private individuals. So we need to focus on a novel solution, address a pain point in a more effective, efficient, and sustainable way, and which is more effective, efficient, and sustainable than an existing solution. And it has to create value that accrues to everyone. So who is a social entrepreneur? And what is social entrepreneurship all about? So social entrepreneurs are a distinct group of people, okay? I don't say this because I am one, but from all the people I've met, this is my learning. They take on a mission to create and sustain social impact like nobody else does. They're relentless in finding ways to make this mission a reality. They're constantly looking to innovate, adapt, and learn. They're bold. They will deploy any sources available. So they may bootstrap, they may, borrow and beg to find resources to help create this value that they're setting out to create. And there's someone who, a social entrepreneur, is very accountable. So he or she knows that he's working on problems affecting many stakeholders, and he feels that he is accountable to each and every one of them. So it's about people taking big risks with very little resources, taking advantages of opportunities that arise, and creating solutions to pressing public problems. Greg Dees is one of the fathers of social entrepreneurship. So if you do read up something written by Greg Dees. My fourth example is that of Embrace. Embrace Innovations, okay? Embrace Innovations is an India-based social enterprise that develops disruptive healthcare technologies focused on reducing infant and maternal deaths in emerging markets. Now, Embrace has an interesting beginning. Embrace was first envisioned in 2008 in a class at Stanford in the Design for Extreme Affordability course, where the co-founders were challenged to come up with an incubator that would cost less than 1% of the cost of a traditional incubator. A traditional incubator at that time was about $20,000 US. So the product would need to keep a baby at the required temperature, preventing hypothermia in premature and low birth weight babies in countries that could not afford to have that many incubators, had intermittent power supply or no power supply at all. So a prototype was developed that looked like a little baby sleeping bag that you can see in the picture. So the sleeping bag had a removable, heatable wax insert, which goes below the baby. And this wax insert could be heated in hot water and rewarmed and changed every 4 hours, reinserted every 4 hours. Now, Embrace Innovations is a for-profit social enterprise focused on design, manufacture, and sales of Embrace products. Now, the reason why I'm explaining the structure is because I want you to understand that you can structure your social enterprise in so many different ways. So Embrace Innovations is a for-profit social enterprise, but the IP, the intellectual property rights to the products that they designed belonged to the NGO. So for every warmer that was sold, the profit arm paid the non-profit arm, which owned the intellectual property. So in turn, the non-profit arm partners with NGOs and governments in underserved countries to distribute these infant warmers free to clinics and hospitals. Embrace Innovations closed a Series A funding round in 2011 with investments from Vinod Khosla's Impact Fund. So for a very low cost, a huge global problem was addressed. It's innovative, it's financially sustainable, and there's huge potential for scale. So they had just reinvented the incubator to create such great impact across the world. So we see that there are many different ways social entrepreneurs can approach problems. Now, I'm going to kind of take you through the historical ways, historically how problems were solved, right? If we were to study how social problems were addressed, we'd see that typically the government would come in and try and solve a problem, or an NGO would step in and address a problem, or the business sector might do it. So while the government and the NGO were more mission-driven, the business sector was more money-driven and focused on the bottom line and on making money. And they would produce, because they had to produce profits for their shareholders. Social entrepreneurship is sort of a bridge between the two, the best of both worlds, really, because it had the mission-led government and NGO approach, and it also has the money-led business approach. So what I'm saying is that problem solving can happen in a lot of different ways, and that's what makes this field so interesting. So to kind of explain this in a more detailed fashion, I'm going to take the example that I studied when I was doing my course with UPenn. And so the example that they would give us was that of affordable housing, right? So if the government were there to address the problem, this is the way the government would look at it. It would be large scale. They would buy up tracts of land and they would build these massive complexes of low cost units of apartments to house the poor. There would be equity in design, there would be equity in delivery, and there would be equity in distribution. And the prices would be really low. It may, the process could be slow. It could, because they would be more cautious in the way they spent the public money. If a business were to try and solve the problem of affordable housing, they would take a very different approach. So the picture you see in the on your monitor here is that of an IKEA home. It's a prefabricated modular home. And a lot of the businesses in this business approaches to solving affordable housing are mostly in the area of creating these kind of modular trailer kind of homes. Here, profit is the key consideration for this business sector. They're market sensitive and they're competitor sensitive. And they work with the whole idea of maximizing shareholder wealth. If an NGO were to address the problem, their approach would be very different. So the nonprofit sector would study what the community needs are, what the lay of the land is, and build what is appropriate to the local needs. So there may be mixed units, units for the extremely poor, people with disability, keeping all these things in mind. It would be mission driven. And nonprofit leaders care deeply to specifically address the problems of the communities that they're working in. So they have to respond to their board, their donors, and their beneficiaries. So you'll see all three sectors have their own way in which they address the same social problem. Now let's take a look at how a social entrepreneur might address this problem. They would look at something novel. Remember the word novel. They would reconceptualize the problem and use innovative ideas to solve a problem and work beyond the sector limits. So there's a novel idea developed by this company here called Moladi. Moladi is a South African company specializing in reusable plastic molds that snap together into frameworks. The molds are filled with an aerated form of concrete and steel. And the mold is removed once the concrete sets, and it's reused, it's unsnapped and reused to build another home. Molds can be reused, they can very quickly build multiple homes. The solution is effective, it's efficient, it's sustainable, it's creative, and it has scale. Now, since the early 2000s, social entrepreneurship has picked up steam, and business schools, social investors, etc., are actively cultivating and backing people with novel ideas to solve a problem in an innovative, efficient, and sustainable way. There is a lot of patient capital. Patient capital is a term that's used by Acumen. Read up about Acumen. They're a wonderful organization that support social entrepreneurs across the world. There is a lot of patient capital, or what we call social investment, that is available to social entrepreneurs. And you can see a lot more social problems being addressed in a novel way like never before. So we've had a burst on the scene from about 2010 onwards. So whether it's in the area of saving the environment or the water crisis, or harnessing solar power, or many other public needs, the number of social entrepreneurs on the scene has increased tremendously. Now, before we go on, I want to share some very well put together definitions on social entrepreneurship by some of the leading philanthropists and social innovation backers and leaders. So I'm going to start with a definition given to us by Jeff Skoll. He was the owner of eBay, and he's one of the biggest Canadian philanthropists and the founder of Skoll Foundation, which does some amazing work. Social entrepreneurs are the practical dreamers who have the talent and the skill and the vision to solve problems and to change the world. Social entrepreneurs have a unique approach that is both evolutionary and revolutionary, operating in free markets where success is measured not just in financial profit, but also in the improvement of the quality of people's lives. So there's a mention of mission and market. Now this one's by Bill Gates. As I see it, there are two great forces of human nature: self-interest and caring for others. Capitalism harnesses self-interest in helpful, sustainable ways, but only on behalf of those who can pay. Philanthropy and government aid channel our caring for those who can't pay, but the resources run out before they meet the need to provide. To provide for the poor, we need a system that draws in innovators and businesses in a far better way. I like to call this system creative capitalism. And here's something by one of my favorite leaders. This is Mohammad Yunus. Yunus is a Bangladeshi social entrepreneur. He's a banker and he's an economist. And he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for his Grameen Bank and the pioneering concepts of microcredit and microfinance. So he says nonprofits alone have proven to be an inadequate response to social problems. Charity is a form of trickle-down economics. If the trickle stops, so does help for the needy. And in countries where the needs are the greatest, the resources for charity are usually very small. The need to constantly raise funds from donors uses up the time and energy of nonprofit leaders, and we need to introduce another kind of business, social business. So you hear creative capitalism, social business, social entrepreneurship. Now, these are all different terms to describe creative problem solving that breaks through existing ways of thinking. Now, what I want all of you to ask yourselves is a question. Can I do this? Can we do this? Now, there's no dearth of public or social problems in our country across the spectrum, from poverty to hunger to disability to education to healthcare. Today, our public healthcare system stands exposed and thousands are dying. But it's innovative and novel ideas that come from young minds like yours that's important. So the question I have for you is, do you want to be part of the problem or do you want to be part of the solution? The problem really lies in the fact that many of us are hypocrites. We take a problem, take any problem, say the damaged environment, and we point our fingers, those carbon emitting countries, those MNCs creating hazardous chemicals, the corrupt politicians, our useless neighbor always burning his garbage. But do we examine ourselves? How much are we adding to the problem? We aren't ready to do that. And what happens? We settle. We settle for mediocrity. We don't aspire for a great standard of living. We're happy with what there is. We're fine passing that garbage on the street, the animals eating from the garbage, even the plastic bags. We're fine with the cheap and inefficient engines that run our inexpensive vehicles. Sometimes jugaad is celebrated. We're fine with less. We become numb. Nothing's going to change. This is India. In fact, a couple of months ago, when we were celebrating the low impact of COVID in India in 2020, there was a message being forwarded that our immunity was so high because we lived in a garbage dump, exposed to all kinds of viruses, bacteria, and parasites. Well, that argument didn't hold for long. And where did all this complacency get us? Our crematoriums are full today. Our doctors and hospital staff are exhausted. And there's a thriving black market for oxygen and life-saving medicines. I live here in Bangalore and I see it. For the last week, it's been something else. So how did we get here? Well, it's our attitude of not caring. And that's why I'm really happy to be here today, to be talking to you. Don't make the mistakes that my generation made. My generation was schooled in the 90s when, profit maximization was the mantra. The gods were the rulers of Wall Street and big tech. And what happened subsequently? The last 20 years has seen a growing gap between the rich and the poor. And the inequity in the distribution of wealth has never been this bad. 2020 itself saw the richest people of the world quadruple their wealth. And the percentage of the population that has slipped into poverty is at an all-time high. Mistakes were made, but we're seeing reforms being made across the world to quell monopoly, to ensure minimum wages and benefits for the gig workers. Reforms are happening. And it's this environment of change that social entrepreneurship fits into. If you're wondering why I have this visual up on the screen, I want to use this analogy of the Ever Given. Now, you remember the Ever Given. This picture was used to make many a meme about a month ago or 2 months ago. The giant ship was stuck in the Suez Canal, unable to budge and blocking traffic in one of the busiest sea routes of the world. The memes mocking the little excavator daring to move the giant container ship. So how did they get this out? The digging schedule was dictated by the tides. So make progress during the 6 hours it would take for the water to go from the low point to the high point and then back again. A rising tide raises the ships. Now they figured that the full moon on March 28th was expected to provide a few extra inches of tidal flow on March 29th. So more excavators joined, super salvagers arrived, and the digging and the dredging continued. Finally, after a week, with the help of the full moon, the ship was freed. So what do you learn from this? What do you learn from this experience? I had many takeaways. And I sort of read most of this on somebody's post on LinkedIn. And so some of it really stuck with me. So one of the takeaways that was mentioned was wait for the right opportunity and hope for the best. Meanwhile, keep digging. Now, perseverance, keeping on with that digging is something that you need to solve social problems. Another takeaway from the Ever Given experience was that every small player counts. Every small player helped to solve the problem. So do your bit. And that bit, in coordination with hundreds and thousands of similar efforts across the planet, is going to solve the huge existential threats and social problems that our planet faces. The number of solution makers is few. So if you want to explore and be part of the solution, venture out in search of these opportunities. So how do you start? Be bold, be different, be brave, be a nation builder in the truest sense of the word. So use your brilliant minds to find solutions in a capitalist setting for our countries and the world's problems. Now, most of us live in a bubble. Now, I don't mean the literal bubble that all of us are living in from 2020 and this year in 21. I haven't stepped out of my house for a while. The bubble I'm talking about is a different bubble. Most middle class live in their own little middle class bubble. Many of us have never visited a slum, never seen a garment factory where they put long hours of work with very low wages. Many of us have never met a person with disability. And when we do meet someone with disability, we're awkward. We don't know what to say. We don't know how to communicate. There's this awkward silence. Many of us have never been into a government school or seen how the children are taught or how sad the facilities that they have are. Health facilities in some small towns and villages in many parts of our country are non-existent. So how do you start? What do you do? So while this pandemic is on, I don't expect you all to get out there and go out and do stuff and visit and explore. I'm saying start small. Read all you can. There are wonderful books on social problems and solutions. There are documentaries, there are news bulletins about the problems that our country and the world face. Something may call out to you, a problem that you could find an innovative way of fixing. If you can step out during this pandemic, then do. Volunteer. Volunteering is the best way to understand the world outside your bubble. Today, it's volunteers that are supporting the whole healthcare infrastructure and preventing it from a complete collapse, at least here in Bangalore. When you volunteer, you form social connections with people, you form personal connections. Your volunteering activity addresses a problem they're facing, and you fulfill that need. You see it right in front of your face. And you'll see the magic of caring in action when you volunteer. So to summarize, explore, read, watch, connect. Something will call out to you. And you have the skills to address the problems that call out to you. 20 years ago, it was people with intellectual challenges and people with intellectual disability and their needs that called out to me. And that's been my evergreen ever since. And yes, every one of us, every citizen of this planet needs to know this, that we need to be leaving this world better than how we found it. So on that note, I'll end. I hope I've passed on a message successfully. I hope at least one or two of you will venture into this world and find some meaning here.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. It really was wonderful listening to know more. Let me just check.
Suman, before moving on to the questions from the audience, please tell us something about your own venture. Though you are not very keen on talking about it, but still we would like to hear from you.
Yeah.
How did you start off?
Yeah. So I, like was mentioned earlier, I worked in market research till about 2002. And when I had my daughter, she had just started, it's difficult to kind of manage a career and a family. And at least it was for me. There are so many women who are able to wonderfully do it. So I resigned from my job, and I decided that, and when my daughter joined school, she was 3 when she joined school, I decided that I had a lot of time on my hands and I needed to do something with that time. And my, it's also the way I was brought up. My parents were very giving people and they were always helping out. I had many occasions through school and college to see social organizations at work. And so in 2001, when I was invited to join the board of Diya because it was started by a close friend of mine. And so she wanted help, and I joined the board of Diya Foundation. I knew nothing about disability then, but I knew that here was a cause that needed attention, and it needed very focused attention, and we needed to reinvent the way that we kind of solved this problem. So these were adults. Now at Diya Foundation, we only work with people over the age of 18. They're not children, they're all adults. And what happens with adults with intellectual disability in our country is that the schooling system, the special schooling system, throws you out by about the age of 18. And after that, there is nothing for them to do. There is no such thing as career planning for a person who's intellectually challenged. There is no planning. And even in the developed countries, it's something that's happening only recently. And so that's how I got interested in the work that Diya was doing. And I was happy to be there. And over the next, say, 10 years, I sort of equipped myself with new degrees. So I went on to study what autism was. I did a 2-year course with the Spastic Society. And autism opened up my understanding of what intellectual challenges was all about. And then, in our progress, we were training people, right? But where were they all going to go and find work? The industry wasn't ready to take them in. So started our advocacy work. So we started working with big organizations in Bangalore, companies in Bangalore, and saying, why don't you employ our people? Tell us what kind of jobs you want them to do. We'll train them. We'll handhold them. We'll set up a buddy system in place for them, and we'll place them in your organizations. We promise you they're great workers. So our first opportunity came from Unilever here in Bangalore. And so we took 2 of our people, 2 young men with Down syndrome. We took them there and they were interviewed. And at that point of time, so one of them, Nigel, he's about 32 at that point of time, a person with Down syndrome. And while we were standing around and after the discussions were kind of finishing, we were having some coffee in the coffee shop. And he sort of, so there were these tables in the canteen which had slats of wood on a metal frame.
Okay.
While he was standing around, he saw that there was food that had, become crusty between the slats of wood. So he went and he got a coffee, one of those coffee stirrers, and he very carefully chipped away at all the crusted food.
Oh God. Okay.
Crusted food fell onto the floor. He went and found a broom and he cleaned up from under the floor. And this was with no instructions from anyone.
Great.
And people at Unilever were watching him.
Okay.
And, so right then and there, they realized, okay, here is, you underestimate people who don't have high IQ. But here was somebody who on his own was able to figure out and solve a problem that he discovered.
Yeah.
So from there we went on, and when we were able to tell companies that we had people working at Unilever, we were able to get more opportunities in ANZ. So we've been working with Hatti Kapi, with Cafe Coffee Day for internships. So we've been able to try and see how we can also fine-tune our training at the foundation to make sure that we provide them with the skills where they'll be, ready on day one for the kind of work that they need to be doing, whether it's hospitality or whether it's the restaurant business or whatever it is.
Okay.
So why does it still excite me? Because just to see the joy and the pride and the sense of self-confidence on the faces of our young men and women with intellectual challenges when they take home that check every month, it's priceless. There's nothing like that. And it changes the whole family's attitude towards them, the family, the extended family, everybody respects them a lot.
Yeah. And what do you do now, Diya Innovations?
Sorry,
Through Diya Innovations.
The rest of the story. So it was a challenge, right? It was a challenge to try and get companies to open up and give us jobs. Now we are training, say, 50, 100 people with intellectual challenges. Where do we place all of them? It isn't that easy. So right from the beginning, right from 2000, we were actually already, as part of their vocational training, we kind of had this production studio already going. Okay. And at the production studio, we were already making products. And by like 2010, 2012, we were making a good amount of money. I mean, so we were making, now the threshold for NGOs to be making non-donation income in 2012 was about 20 lakhs. So if you cross 20 lakhs, you stood to lose your ATG status at that point of time. Okay. So it meant that we needed to figure out an alternative. And we spoke to a lot of people in the industry. Should we form a Section 8 company? Should we, form a for-profit trust? How do we, what kind of company do we, what kind of a structure do we, a business structure or business model should we follow? Spoke to a lot of people, and we finally decided to go the private limited way. And we started our private limited company. So I got off the board because we wanted to be at arm's length, the foundation and the company. So I got off the board and I started the company along with two of my partners, two of the directors. And we have been working from 2013 onwards. We've worked with about 100 companies in Bangalore and South India for their gifting requirements. We worked with some of the leading companies in Bangalore, and it's been good. I mean, we've survived almost 8 years now. Yeah.
That's great. How has been the growth in terms of number of employees, not in terms of financial terms?
So the growth in terms of number of employees it's difficult. It's difficult because, so we started with say 5, we're at 10 today. It's not a great number that we're impacting.
Right.
But it's deep impact that we're talking about. We're talking about sustained income earning every month for these last 8 years. And that's made a difference to them. Now, there are various things. When you run a company, there are various laws that you need to comply with. So the minimum
Yeah.
wages, the Contract Act. So, trying to balance all this, this is the best we can do.
Okay. How has been the response from the corporate side in terms of getting your gifting solutions?
So the way we market our products is not from the charity angle, right? We are a product that is competing with what the gifting, there are gifting companies that source products from all over the country or from China or from various places. They are our competitors. It's not other social enterprises. These are our competitors. And so that's the way we go to an organization. It's the product that talks. So we have worked really hard on the design, on the color schemes, on the, how well put together a box is and how well it's priced. And that's the way we compete. So, we've always, right from the beginning, not wanted to be a charity buy.
Right.
It has to be a buy that a company is convinced he or she wants to. And it's just, by the way, these products are made by people who are intellectually challenged.
Right.
So that's the approach we've taken. And it's worked well for us so far. It's not like every product, every client has been super thrilled. Like in every other business, I'm sure there are clients who aren't happy, but we learn from every failure. So the minute I get a call from a client who says, I was unhappy with this, I will sit down the entire team. We all sit and go through a revision in the quality control process, figure out what went wrong where, and everyone takes the account. Everyone becomes accountable and responsible for making sure this never happens again.
Okay.
Just can I ask you something, Suman?
Yeah.
I just want to check, how many lives have you touched directly, indirectly?
So over the last
20,
Go ahead. Over the last 20 years, we've worked with about 250 people with disability, that is with training, that is at the foundation. And of these people, we have a total of about 30 or 35 people who have been successfully placed in jobs which bring in monthly income. But there is a larger group of about 30 or 40 more people who we're trying to make sure that we are able to outsource work to them. So they may not get a monthly income, but they will get paid for the work they do. That's kind of a sort of a gig worker kind of model that we're trying to create to ensure that more people earn money.
But do you see a change in the families? Do you see a change in their lifestyle? Do you see a change what they were not able to do? At least their children are not suffering the same way. Do you experience that also?
Absolutely. So, just like 3 days ago, we had some problem with one of the bank accounts, and there was a delay in paying out a stipend to one of my employees, and so her mom calls and she says, "Ma'am, I haven't received the money yet." So I said, "Yeah, I'm sending it to you today. I'm really sorry about the delay." And she says, "We depend on my and Aisha's salaries. Without Aisha's salary, it's going to be really difficult. She's got 4 children and she is a teacher. And it's Aisha's salary and her meager salary that together run the family." I have another employee, Suresh, who's born with cerebral palsy. He earns about 14,000 a month, 13,000 a month. And today, I'm so proud of the fact that he's been saving for the last 7 years. He was part of my initial team. For the last 7 years, he's been saving about 1 lakh or 2 lakhs. He's been putting away almost 90% of his salary. So it's about, say, 8 or 10,000. So about 1 lakh a year he's been able to save. And with that money, they've actually bought a site somewhere near Nelamangala, which is about 30 or 40 kilometers away from Bangalore city. And they bought a site on which he hopes to one day build a house.
Wow.
So, it's every one of them has stories like this. The very fact that they take home a salary, that they're working in an organization like ours, where they're, I mean, you should come and visit us when it's Diwali time. Diwali time, we're flooded with orders. And sometimes we work 22 hours a day when it's, when we have orders to deliver. All of them they'll refuse to go home until they know that that day's work is over. So it's a delight. It's a delight to work with them because they're so invested in what they do. And when they go home, they find that kind of respect at home too. They get that respect at Diya because they're part of the core team of manufacturers. But when they go home, they get that respect too, because they're bringing home a salary check, and a salary check makes all the difference.
I completely understand. And, I know about social entrepreneurship, what money or financial benefits I'm talking about. Definitely, emotionally, it must be very satisfying when you see they are getting impact in their lives of many people are getting changed. There's another thing which comes into my one thing, which is that why women are more who get into the social entrepreneurship. Why? Because they emotional people.
No, I think, to want to get in, I mean, it's very different now. I mean, so if you look at the NGO sector, you'll see a lot of women were at the helm of starting NGOs. But if you were to look at, say, the social entrepreneur sector, so, I was lucky to be part of the IIM Bangalore had their first cohort of they were doing an incubation of social entrepreneurs from around the country. And we happened to be part of that first cohort. We didn't get selected for the final round. But what was interesting was it was evenly distributed. There were as many men as there were women in this. And this was like about 130 people from, social entrepreneurs, startups, in education, in healthcare, in various sectors. And there are a lot of men in it. But yeah, there are a lot of women, and it's wonderful to have so many women in this sector. I'm guessing one of the factors is women are by nature a little more empathetic. As mothers, we are more empathetic. We're a lot more compassionate. But it's unfair. It's unfair to say that because, the way men are brought up, boys are brought up these days, they're equally compassionate and equally empathetic. So I think it's changing. In the 90s and in the early 2000s, it was the women who were leading the charge on this, but I see a lot of men entering this sector now.
Good to hear that. For me, I had a wonderful session, Suman. Actually, sometimes you just get into the same rut of doing what you're doing, but when you hear the other perspectives, it gives you a different, a feel good. Right now, I'm sitting at a very feel good feeling that there are other avenues also of doing something fantastic what you are doing. So thank you very much, Suman, from my side. Like for me, I had a great session with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I make a statement? This is Krishnamurthy here, BKM from TiE Coimbatore chapter.
Yes, sir.
Suman, this was an excellent talk. I have been interested in social entrepreneurship, and I personally liked the ever-given example what you gave. It is most topical and easy to remember, and probably it covered all the aspects what is required for a social entrepreneurship. Excellent. Thank you very much for that. I would like to get in touch with you to connect you to two people. You might have heard about Meera Shenoy in Hyderabad.
Yes. Yes.
They are also placing people with, the kind of work what you are doing, but they are covering multiple PWDs, persons with disabilities. There is another organization in Chennai which is working on only autism. She is making robots for teaching the autism children. Okay. They are in the lower age group. I would like to get connected with you. Probably I'll reach out to Swati or Ranjana to get your contact.
Sure.
Thank you very much. This was very good. Wish you all the very best and pray God that He gives you all the strength to go through further. Wish you all the very best.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. And I look forward to hearing from you.
If there is time, this is Sriram. Just a few minutes if there is time, or if you're running out, it's fine.
Please go ahead.
Okay, this is Sriram from TiE.
Yeah.
So what we have is a very interesting model, Suman. This is something I've been searching for out of interest. The confluence between business and social entrepreneurship. Why should it be two different silos which you do once a year or once a weekend or something like that? So while the gender, disability and the oppressed, if that were to be the subset, I'm seeing a larger set, which is the model itself. And this is a model I've been searching for. I'm a crude, crass businessman.
Okay.
So I'm not given to conscience or doing good in the course of work. That's how we have been slaughtered, right? Like politicians do bad. Governments, businessmen are just interested in money. So we have created this huge dichotomy. And in this binary world, I've been desperately searching. I'm in the 100th year of my family business. And I really know what reputation a businessman has today. You're corrupt, you ease your way through, you have only materialistic accumulation as thing. And the worst part is, all the good which is taking place in a quarks or quantums later in the year. It's either a guilt trip or you do CSR after exploiting the market or the customer or your employees, doing all the sleight of hand with environment and community, all the rules of the land, including like the Unilevers of the world were not beyond sweeping their mercury into an Allah and trying to get away with it. So if they were not enforced, they wouldn't have cleaned it up. Or the fact that they use vegetable fat and call it dairy. Even the biggest companies with the acclaimed objectives don't do it, or feel good end of the year. Basically, I call this end of the year deal. So how is it possible to build this into the business model itself? Like, how do I do good in the course of work rather than do exactly what West taught us 20 years back, 30 years back? Business of business is business. It's a very simple way to shrink my consciousness and make my objective also like a pygmy, like only balance sheet, only profits, which means only the shareholder makes money. So it's the other stakeholders, whether your community, the state, the environment, your employees, your vendors and supply chain partners, they're not part of your deal. They are the process of your accumulating wealth for the management pool and the investors. So we have created a very skewed kind of a model. So in this search for a more elegant, more distributed balance sheet, or a more, I would say, equitable distribution, you called it, creative consciousness or creative commerce. So there are words like now, conscious capitalism. All these words are coming up. It's a pity it's coming 200 years after we have lose capitalism on its worst side. So I'm really happy what you have set out to do, because every time one of these models work, again, the key word is not as a fringe activity, but as a mainstream activity. So the day Titan watches, instead of giving CSR to plant trees or to give a dole at the end of the year, if they can set up a fabrication unit for watch straps or assembly, which they have done. So if they can do it in the course of work and build it into the business model itself, I think then we are on to something, because the problem of our social community environment problem is not going to be solved by business. Their primary answer is only the stock market and the investment world. Absolutely. So how do they become more benign or well-rounded, I think is a big challenge for us. And I'm very, very grateful to you for showcasing a case, because every time I flag and I see somebody like you, it's like a nice high, like it's like, something is working and somebody has stuck onto it and they've come with a beautiful model. So thank you so much for that. So one take is that how do you mainstream it rather than keep it as a fringe, as an end of the year activity? That was one. And
go ahead.
Other very quick points. What Ranjana had asked you about the impact, you're talking about 30-35 people who have been impacted, and another 30-35 in your extended world. If it's possible to, just a tangential thought, if it's possible to quantify the impact, what is the delta between their normal life before you and after you? And what would be the, if that is quantified and if that is made into an annual or a monthly contribution, can we monetize it or make it into a currency, like a feel-good currency, conscience currency, guilt currency, doesn't matter, a societal currency? I could say, oh, darling, I gave this school a donation to so-and-so, and these two kids are working. My driver's daughter is working somewhere. Even if it's a bragging right, fine. We steal, beg, borrow. But if the objective is served, is it possible to also quantify this so that larger funds can be raised? Because I think the millennials will be a huge feeder of this, this pipeline. They're being less accumulative, less status conscious, less brand conscious, and already inheritors of very large wealth of 2 generations. I think that is the reason, that's a background nobody talks about. We call them very liberated and enlightened people, but they also had 2 generations who were either very frugal on one generation and very adventurous on the other, who have created very large wealth for them, inheritance and their savings. So if there is some way to loop this, I think that would be phenomenal. So I'll also, and one of the examples is also somebody who's making single-use plastics, cut them into slices, splice them and make it into bags. So in the current cohort of NSRC, there is a lady who's doing that. And those are jobs which are better off for people with disability and mobility issues. To run a loom, you can sit anywhere as long as somebody helps you and takes it away. And in their business, they have quantified, that's a good example. They have quantified the number of kilos they have reclaimed from the landfill of single-use plastics. Then they're able to quantify the money earned by the rack picker. So each bag represents how many rack pickers were put into a job. And the third is the looms, like how many self-help group women actually got extra money. So these 3 numbers on a bag which costs you 2,000 rupees makes you feel that 1,500 is for feel good. And 500 is actually, I shouldn't be paying, Britannia or Parle should be paying, doesn't matter, I'll pay 500 for the plastic. I think if this model were to be also made into a quantifiable, measurable feel good factor, I think it would help. And offline, I'll keep in touch with you on this. This is something dear to me. Thank you so much for inspiring us. And again, for me personally, another working model which I can put somewhere and then start sharing with others. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So I just want to add there, I mean, when, it's wonderful that there are so many entrepreneurs here in this group. And I want to remind you that, when you're looking at your procurement chain or your vendor chain, but supplier chain, think of including organizations like ours, where, when instead of sourcing your gifts from the regular gifting company, think of sourcing from organizations like ours. Work on seeing how you can include people with disability in your workforce. We're happy to join hands with you to train them and to give them the skills that they need to succeed in organizations that you run.
Thank you.
And the quantifying bit, that's something that definitely makes sense, because that's easier for people who aren't in the social sector to kind of understand the impact of what they are doing when they contribute. And that's something that we're working on for our organization too. So yeah, I will talk to you about it.
Suman, can we take a couple of questions from the student side?
Please, yes.
Yeah, Shiraman?
Yes, sir. Students, you all have access. You can just come in.
Good afternoon. I am Rohit.
Good afternoon, Rohit.
I had a question, ma'am. Do government support social entrepreneur, ma'am?
So a government supporting social entrepreneurs, there are schemes. Of course, there are schemes that the government has for startups and for organizations like that. Maybe not specifically for social entrepreneurs, but a social entrepreneur really, if you're looking at I'm talking from the point of view of for-profit. But if you're talking from the point of view of a not-for-profit, there are a number of schemes that NGOs can apply for, right? So the government does support. But if we're talking about the not-for-profit, the for-profit kind of model, there are government banks that lend at good rates of interest. There are social investors that lend, who will wait patiently for a return on their capital. So there is no dearth of people who are interested in helping social entrepreneurs. And there are so many incubation cells nowadays being set up by so many management institutes and by engineering colleges across the country. And the kind of, the foundations, whether it's the Susan and Michael Dell Foundation or There are so many, the Gates Foundation, everybody is investing in social entrepreneurs these days. So if you keep your eye on the scene, you will find somebody or the other to help you with funding your project.
Thank you.
Hello, ma'am. My name is Tarnish Balaji.
Hi,
Ma'am, my question is, how is social entrepreneurship in the rural parts of our country, ma'am?
I honestly cannot really answer that, but from the various cohorts that I have been part of social entrepreneurs, I see a lot of them working in the rural areas. So whether it's education based on social entrepreneurships, where it's tech-based, technology being put into the field of education, and this being, taken to the rural areas. There's a lot in the areas of solar power, of affordable housing. There's a lot in the area of clean drinking water, especially in villages and towns which are near factories that harm the water supply. So there is a lot of social activity happening across the country. If the non-profit sector has been there for years and has been sort of supplementing whatever the government cannot do, but the for-profit social sector world is getting there. And they're using technology and new ideas. Young minds like yours come up with wonderful ideas using the latest technologies to reach even the rural areas. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm sorry,
Good afternoon, ma'am.
People there. Yeah. Tell me.
Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Diya from First MPA, and thanks for the wonderful session. So I have a question. What are the risks faced by the social entrepreneurs, and how do they overcome those risks?
Sorry, just repeat that question. I didn't understand.
What are the risks faced by the social entrepreneurs, and how do they overcome those risks?
So the risks are many, right? Like it's like running a business. It's like running any for-profit business. There are risks that come from, the pandemic was the biggest risk I had to face last year. And I've had to pivot in the way that I have to do my business. So we lost all our gifting clients. Nobody was buying products to gift to anybody because companies were saving their money. Marriages were called off. Gone was my marriage market. I had a huge marriage market that we were doing bridal favors for. It disappeared, right? Overnight with the lockdown and the extended lockdown and everything, it disappeared. My markets disappeared. But what did we do? We had to pivot. We had to figure out, what do we do now? I have to pay salaries. I have to pay my rent. I did not want to cut salaries. I wanted to pay full salaries to all my staff. Right from 2020, I'm proud to say that we've been able to do that. And we got into mask manufacturing. So we started stitching. We got together an entire group of tailors. Everyone was sitting at home because garment factories were closed. And none of them were earning anything because the garment factories were not, Bangalore has a lot of garment factories, and they were not being paid. Or even if they were being paid, they were being paid maybe 20% of their salary. So we got a whole team of them together and we started making cloth masks. We did 3 designs. We even managed to do some export orders. We sort of earned enough money to last up to Diwali just by making masks. So like any company, you will face risks, whether it is working capital that runs short or, strange global occurrences that throw you off. You have to figure out ways of reinventing yourself and reinventing your business. That's why you need to be bold if you want to be an entrepreneur. And you can ask anybody in this group. All the wonderful entrepreneurs in this group can tell you that you need to be brave and bold. And trust me, I never thought I was a brave and bold person until I started a business. And you are forced to become brave and bold because you have so many people that depend on you. You're paying that many salaries, and that many households are dependent on your salary. You automatically become brave and bold.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
I'm Hemchan, first year MBA.
Yes.
I have a question, ma'am.
Yeah.
What are the challenges faced by the social entrepreneurs?
So there, like I mentioned, there's so many challenges, like the risks that we face. The challenges are the challenge. I'll share some of the challenges that I faced over the last 7 years. I operate in the gifting sector, right? And what is somebody? So say I work with 10 companies in year 1. In year 2, I have no guarantee that those 10 companies are going to work with me for their gifting needs, because they might see something better offered by a different. My competition is always at their door, right? So I have no guarantee that those 10 are going to come back to me for Diwali in the following year. So I have to work on expanding my market. So I reach out to another 300 companies in Bangalore or South India or Maharashtra to try and see how many I can convert into buying my products. So there is, I mean, whether it's marketing, whether it's product development, or whether it is being in the gifting company, I have to constantly innovate in my offering. So if Toyota sees this catalog in 2014, Toyota wants to see another catalog in 2015. In 2016, it has to be something different. 2017, my catalog looks different. So I'm constantly innovating in product. I'm constantly innovating in design. I'm constantly innovating in the markets that I'm working with. So we earlier used to only work with corporates. We got into the wedding market. We now work with some social enterprises abroad to see how we can work with we do some export orders. So you have to, the challenges that you face is, it all really is all about figuring out how your challenge is to keep your business afloat, to ensure that you pay your employees well, that you take care of your employees well, that they are growing. That's your biggest challenge as an entrepreneur. And that's where you need to focus all your energy.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good afternoon. I'm Govindar.
Good afternoon.
My question is, what is the difference between a social and profit?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you very well. What is the difference between a social entrepreneurship and?
Gopinath, you need to be a little more audible, Gopinath.
What is the difference between a social entrepreneur and a profit?
I'm sorry, I didn't get that. I wasn't able to hear.
Ma'am, I think he's asking difference between social entrepreneur and I think he was mentioning something profit for some.
Okay. So if you're talking about what I was calling the business sector, and as Mr. Sriram Shankaran also pointed out, what do normal business people, every business in this world, when you set up a business, your goal is maximizing profits. And when you have shareholders, it's maximizing shareholder wealth. That is your goal as a business owner. And that's who you're accountable to. You're accountable to your shareholders. Now, in the case of a social entrepreneurship, it's a little different. In addition to shareholders, you've also got your beneficiaries. You've also got the group that you're impacting. So you're accountable not only to your shareholders, you're also accountable to the group that you are creating an impact on, to your beneficiary group. That's really the difference. I mean, we're still trying to make money, but we're trying to make money. We want to make money because we want to see our beneficiary group prosper.
Suman, of course, NGOs have been doing a great work as far as India is concerned. And of course, they keep receiving funds from various sources also. So their business model has been totally different when compared to that of social entrepreneurship. Do you see any competition among these two business models or players? One side NGOs, the other side social entrepreneurs. How do you look at this, or where do you draw the line?
I think we all work together. I mean, I've been in this sector long enough to see how we all lift each other up. That's the amazing thing about being in the social sector. It isn't cutthroat. we're not competitors. We're in this together because we all have one common goal, which is leaving this world in a better place than when we got it. So I think that sort of, I've never come across competition in the social sector. We're all in it to, we're not competing for funds because the for-profit doesn't need the funds. We've built sustainable models where we don't need the funding. Whereas the NGO sector needs those funds because the way they're modeled, they may have some non-donation income that comes in, but they are generally dependent because of the kind of work they do. They're kind of dependent on funding.
So there is no clash of interest.
I have never seen it so far in my 20 years in this sector.
Okay.
And that's one of the great reasons to join and become a social entrepreneur.
Right. Okay. Shriram, if there is no other question, probably we can wrap it up.
Will we take, there are a few questions in the chat, so shall we take one?
Yeah, please.
Okay. One Mr. Navneet Krishnan is asking what kind of metrics you are using to measure the impact of it.
So we do, for the foundation, when we're measuring impact, we are looking at the, their earnings, like before they receive training to the earnings that they receive after training. So that's one of the metrics that we calculate. When we're talking about skill training, one of the metrics that we calculate is when they started, what were they like? What are they like today? How much are they able to earn? So it is earnings. It is the ability to earn that is one of the most important metrics that we look at. But honestly, I mean, it's mostly people who are not in the social sector who ask us these questions. What are your metrics? How are you measuring impact? To me, it is such a qualitative thing. To me, it is qualitative because for me, every single life is, I know the family, I know the history, so it's more qualitative than anything else. I appreciate the need to have metrics, and so the social organizations are always working on making sure that we create metrics that make sense for donors and for stakeholders. But remember that it is qualitative. It is deep impact that's important. It's, it upsets me when, CSR companies, they come and say, I want a project where impact is massive. I want at least 20,000 people impacted by this project. And so, small NGOs like Diya Foundation may not get that kind of funding because we're not able to show that kind of volume. Okay, so naturally they move towards, say, education of the girl child or, areas where they can show large numbers. Like my story of the Evergreen, it's all the small players that, so it's look at every small organization that's also, don't get bogged down by impact numbers. Every life you change is important.
Sir, there are no more questions.
Okay. Shall I request Ranjana to wrap it up with her concluding remarks?
Yes. Yeah. Well, we have reached the end of today's session. Thank you, Ms. Suman, for sharing your journey. It was truly inspiring. Your commitment to helping the society is truly commendable. I'm sure all of us here will do our best to support you in the coming days. I thank Mr. Narayanan and the whole team of DJ Academy for collaborating with us and introducing us to Ms. Suman and her work. I would also like to thank all the participants who took time to be here today. Thank you once again. Thank you one more time, Suman. I have no words to say. I think I'm so overwhelmed and touched with your story and the kind of lives you are touching. I hope one day I'm able to do that, the same thing.
Thank you so much, Ranjana. It means so much to me when you say that. Thank you. And, I hope all of you can come and visit us at Bangalore sometime.
Sure. When things get better, I'm definitely there, Suman. And I would like to connect with you offline. We'll take the details from Professor Narayan and be in touch with you.
Sure.
I look forward to that. Thank you, Ranjana.
Thank you, Ranjana. Thank you, Suman. Thank you so much. So inspiring. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you.
Keep doing good work.
Bye, yeah.
Wish you very, very all the best. God bless you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.